ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। We were on the portion where the disciple has approached the guru and having examined the world outside and world inside, having realized that what he is really looking for is not there in the world outside, and with that realization, finding and approaching the guru. And so he is now asking the correct questions. He has asked the correct questions, 7 of them. We saw that in verse 49. And because the questions itself please the guru very much, because that is the type of student, a disciple that the guru is waiting for, who would ask him for this knowledge and not anything about the external world. And therefore he says that you are very blessed indeed, and you have glorified your own family by just asking these questions. These are very pertinent, these are very relevant, and definitely I shall answer them. And then the glory of self-effort, Bhagavan Shankaracharya has given us 3 examples, saying that there are certain things that other people can help us with, like the debt of the father can be resolved by the children, sons, or but if you're hungry, somebody else can cook the food for you, but you need to eat. Or if you're sick, then you yourself have to swallow the medication. Nobody else can do it for you. So point is that because we have to realize the final effort, the final crux of the matter is that it is on our shoulders. The guru can guide us up to a certain point, and he will. But following instructions is up to us. He can prescribe the medication, but swallowing that pill is our job. So the effort finally stays with us. And so basically, Guru has said that there is this bondage that you feel, and the bondage is because of ignorance, and that ignorance needs to be removed. And now we are on the verse 56, where Bhagavan Shankaracharya has explained. He says that by yoga na yogena na sankhena, and these two refer to the schools of philosophy. I told you there are 6 schools of philosophy, which are Astika. They're considered as Astika, and Astika means they're believers in the Vedas. So the 6 schools are Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. The reason that Nyaya and Vaisheshika schools Bhagavan has not mentioned is because they actually think that Atma is inert. Nyaya thinks that Atma is inert, and Vaisheshika school thinks that Atma is both inert and sentient. So, Atma cannot be insentient, or cannot be partial sentient, partial insentient. So there is no point going into those schools. But then Sankhya and yoga schools do believe that yes, Atma is sentient. And I explained to you the difference. Sankhya is where they believe there is a Purusha and a Prakriti, but they say that Prakriti is independent. She can create independently, and she does create independently this world. And for whom does she create? She creates it for the Purusha who enjoys. So Purusha enjoys and Prakriti creates. And then there are many, many Purushas, in the sense, as many beings are there, that many Purushas are there. So what it actually comes to, what we call as Jiva, because we say there are many, many Jivas, they call as Purusha. So that's because when we say Purusha, then that means the supreme reality. And then yoga school brings in the concept of Ishvara, where they say that Purusha doesn't create, Ishvara creates with the help of Maya, with the help of Prakriti. So Ishvara has these two, yoga school says Purusha has got two aspects. One aspect of Purusha is Ishvara. So it is a Vishesha Purusha, Purusha Vishesha they call it. And that's Ishvara. And then there is the Samanya Purusha, which is the Jiva. So Ishvara has got no sin. Ishvara has got Maya under his control. That is similar to what we say. And then Jiva is under the control of Maya. Then the Purva Mimamsikas definitely believe in the Vedas, but they give utmost importance to the Karma Kanda portion, the second portion, the Brahmana portion. And one of their main reasons is that the Brahmana portion is the bulkiest in any Veda. That is the bulkiest portion. So they say that it is so bulky, that is the biggest portion in the Veda. That means that is the most important. That point is not correct. Just because it is the bulkiest portion, it's not correct. And then there are rituals that will give us anything and everything in this world. We agree to that. Yes, there are rituals, but they say that those rituals, yajnas, karmas, can also give us liberation. And that's where there is a difference between Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. We were on Uttar Mimamsa, where I told you there are three different philosophies, three different lines of thought. One is Dvaita, which is dualism. Second is Vishishta Advaita, which is qualified non-dualism. And then Advaita, which is non-dualism. Now, the Vishishta Advaita thought has been propounded by Ramanujacharya. That is like how we have Adi Shankaracharya propounding Advaita. Vishishta Advaita is propounded by Ramanujacharya, and then Dvaita by Madhvacharya. These are their masters. Now, the question that arises here is, if Advaita is that is it, that is the final, why even have these Dvaita and Vishishta Advaita schools? Why did they come about? So the reason that they have come about is because of the differences in the knowledge or in the maturity of the people. Even Ramakrishna Paramahansa says that he's started off as a Dvaitin only, with bhakti of the Divine Mother. Later on, he experienced that Advaita bliss. But he says that the reason that these have come is because the masters knew that not everybody will be able to swallow this Advaita principle, because it is difficult to understand. Even Bhagavan Shri Krishna had said in chapter 12 that most of the people are very much identified with the body. And those who are identified with the body, for them to understand Nirgun Nirakar, this principle which is formless, which is only existence, consciousness, bliss, is not very easy to understand. So it becomes much easy, the Dvaita school. Therefore, you will see many, many followers, many more followers of the Dvaita school than the Advaita, because it is very easy. Even think about us. When somebody tells you, okay, this is God, he's in the temple or he's in the altar, is this, and then you can talk to him, you can pray to him, you can ask things from him. It's very easy because that's what we have done in our life. So it becomes very easy. So it is the spiritual evolution, the maturity of the student, which will make things easy. So Dvaita, we start with Dvaita, go into Vishishta Advaita, and then finally Advaita. So it's basically like going from elementary school to high school to college, then university, then maybe a master's, then a PhD program. So that sort of a program should be there. A choice should be there for people, because people's maturity levels are different. So that is why these schools have come about. So none of them are wrong. Okay, just because we are in Advaita doesn't mean Dvaita is wrong. We are also saying no, that's fine. What we say is there is a principle, and then that principle is capable of coming in a form, and that's how that principle has come in form in this world. And so there is nothing wrong with that. But as we mature, then we can understand this Advaita philosophy much better. Okay, so na yogena na sankhena, referring to the schools, the various schools. I have given you information about the schools. Karmana nona vidya. Karmana here referring to the Karma Kanda portion, of the Vedas, or actions. And we have seen many verses before this where Bhagwan has hammered it into us that no matter how much action you do, or how much noble it is, and how good it is, and whatever it is, and you can do karmas till the end of the kalpa, but you will not get liberation from karma. So this is what he's referring to again. Karmana nona vidya. Now this vidya word we should understand here very well. Vidya, because now the question will arise, what do you mean Vidya means? Just now you said knowledge can remove bondage and knowledge can remove ignorance, and now you're saying Vidya, Bhagwan is saying Vidya cannot. Vidya here is referring to Upasana. So the Vedas, the four Vedas, their content is it is divided into three parts: Karma, Upasana, and Jnana. These are the three divisions of all the four Vedas. So karma referring to the ritualistic karma, where just the ritual is done. What usually we see now is when we call a priest to do the puja, then actually the yajman, the host, doesn't understand, but he's sitting there, he does the puja, he will get the merit of the puja, even though the priest is doing it. But there is not that full understanding of exactly what is being chanted, why things are being done, etc., etc. Upasana, what happens is, Upasana is a mental puja. It is mental. It is a mental action. Upasana also is an action. It's a mental action where the Upasak, the one who is worshipping, starts thinking, what does this mean? Why am I doing this? Why am I joining my hands? Why am I offering flowers? Why am I offering fruits? So he starts thinking about the ritual that he is doing. And therefore he graduates from karma to upasana. First is karma, then upasana, then jnana. And once he starts thinking, and that's the portion, the third portion of the Vedas that we have talked about, which is vanaprastha, that's where the way like a grahastha lives his life. And then in vanaprastha, the person is supposed to start thinking, okay, I did so much, I worked so hard, and I got so much money, and I got fame and name, and etc., etc., but did I really get the happiness that I was looking for? So that is what upasana is. However, it is a mental action, and karma will take you to Swargaloka, Upanishad says, Shruti says, and karma plus upasana can give you Brahmaloka. That is the highest, but it cannot give you liberation. And this Vidya word is here referring to upasana. Okay, so Bhagwan is making it very clear that it is knowledge and knowledge alone. And what knowledge is that? It is knowledge of what you actually are. That is the knowledge. So it is not a knowledge which is in the books. We need the books, but that is not the knowledge he's referring to. Knowledge that we get of the external world, or of whatever we are reading in the books, is through thought. Remember that. Every external knowledge that we have, I know physics, I know chemistry, I know mathematics, whatever that I know is in the form of a thought. This knowledge is not in the form of a thought, it is beyond thought. That is the difference. So that's why it's knowledge with a capital K, and every other knowledge of the world is with a small k. So this Vidya is, if at all it is referring to knowledge of the world, it is referring actually to Upasana in the Vedic tradition. So that's why that Upasana cannot give us liberation. And what will then give us liberation is just Brahma Atma Ekatva Bodhena. That's the break of the next word. Brahmatmaikatva Bodhena Mokshaha Siddhyati Na Anyatha. Na Anyatha. So Anyatha is anything different, other. So there is no way by any other method that you can get liberation other than this one method, that you realize the oneness between Atma, the Jivatma, and Brahman. It is just a realization. It is knowledge alone. That's it. It is not through the books and all that. So that is what this verse is saying. Okay. Now he's going to give just a few examples. Veenaya Rupa Saundaryam Tantrivadana Saushthavam Prajastrajana Matram Tata Nasamrajaya Kalpate. The beauty of the veena and the proficiency of one playing on its chords serve but to please an audience. They do not by themselves ever prove sufficient to confer full sovereignty. Sovereignty here must be understood. Samrajya. What is meant by sovereign? When we say a sovereign, it's the king, right? Sovereign is a king who has got a kingdom. One superficial meaning of this verse that we can take is that, the king may be proficient in music and arts and literature and all kinds of he may have all these knowledges, but that doesn't guarantee him the actual sovereignty over the kingdom. He may have his own thing, own proficiencies in arts, etc. But the real meaning of samrajya here is sovereignty over oneself, means the knowledge. Because the real sovereignty will come only when you recognize yourself to be that limitless self. That is what samrajya is, really. Really. Then samrajya is what? Control. Then you have control. We control other things, but we don't have control over our own mind. So that is what is being said here again, that you can be proficient in many things. There are these arts and sciences, literature, whatever that you can study. So again, it is referring in a way to karma again. That karma, and I told you once before that why is Bhagwan insisting on karma so much is because that was he spent his maximum time discussing with the karma kandins, who would, they will never budge. They'll say, no, karma can give everything, right? And that's why he wants to drill it into us, that it is knowledge alone and not karma that can give us. And that is what he's saying here. And now next one, similar idea. Vag Vaikhari Shabdazhari Shastra Vakhyana Kaushalam Vaidyusham Vidusham Tadvata Bhuktaye Natu Muktaye. Loud speech in a stream of words. The efficiency in expounding or commenting upon the Shastras. Erudition. These bring only a little joyous material satisfaction to the scholar, but they are insufficient to liberate him completely. Once again, action. All these are speaking is an action. Erudition, your proficiency in the Sanskrit language, you're memorizing the Bhagavad Gita, you're memorizing the Veda. There are people who memorize the Veda. That's how the name comes, by the way. There is Chaturvedi. There is a name Chaturvedi. They know all the 4 Vedas by heart. Then there is Trivedi. They know 3 Vedas. There is Dvivedi. This is not a joke. This is real. So the Dvivedis, they know 2 Vedas. So they know all this. They're scholars. But that doesn't give. Here he says Vag Vaikhari. Vag is speech. So this speech has got 4 sections to it. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari. So Vaikhari is when you actually, now that I'm speaking, it is Vaikhari. Vaikhari is something which is spoken and is heard by somebody else. So it's a loud speech. But before this loud speech happens, Vaikhari, that speech has to be thought out. Is it not? When you speak something, you're supposed to, people speak without thinking, that's a different matter. But generally in normal part, if I'm sitting here trying to do a lecture, I obviously must have thought something before this. So Madhyama is where it is at the thought level, and thought level only I know, you don't. Vaikhari, I know, you know. Madhyama, I know, you don't. Okay. And before Madhyama, it is Pashyanti. So in Madhyama, what is it? Pashyanti also is in the mind, but it's vague. It's a little bit veiled. And then what happens is, then the person thinks, okay, this is what I should be speaking on. And then the thoughts are solidified. This is the general idea that I want to give. How exactly should I give it? So that is the difference between Pashyanti and Madhyama. So Pashyanti is also at the thought. Pashyanti, Pashya is to see. So the person can sort of see it in his mind, in his or her mind, as to what the topic is going to be that this person wants to speak on. And Madhyama is where that thought crystallizes. So it's more clear. It's more clear in the mind of the speaker, and Vaikhari is when he speaks. Now, a thought to arise, we know that it has to be in the Vasana level. Otherwise, a thought cannot arise. So this para refers to that, to the Vasana level. So in the Vasana level, there is a Vasana of whatever, maybe movies, maybe fashion, maybe literature, drama, whatever. Because of that para, this Pashyanti comes, and Pashyanti converts into Madhyama, and Madhyama converts into Vaikhari. Vaikhari is loud speech. So what is being said is Shabda Zari, Shabda. In Amrit Bindu Upanishad, we heard Shabda Maya, or we heard, don't get into this forest of words, like, or a stream of words. And this is what he's saying, that people talk, and Shastra Vyakhyana Kaushalam. Vyakhyana is lecturing. So people lecture also. They know the subject and they lecture also, but that lecture itself is not going to give them liberation. That lecture needs to be brought into their own life. Whatever they are saying needs to be practiced. For in our mission, in the Sandipani, they used to tell us, our acharyas used to tell us, that your words will not have conviction. This is for the brahmacharis, that your words will not have conviction unless you follow it, isn't it? Otherwise, words will seem hollow. It's like my doctor was telling me. He said there are so many cardiologists who are themselves obese. Now, this obese cardiologist is telling the patient, you've got to lose weight. How much weight is it going to have on the patient, right? So it's like that. You yourself have to follow it. And that following will give you liberation. That knowledge will give you liberation, not just the speaking. Of course, speaking is required, because speaking means you have to study. Listening is required, because without listening, how will you know what to do? So it is required, but don't think that just because somebody is an erudite scholar in Mundak Upanishad Bhasha, Bhagwan has said there, that a person may be he may be a scholarly person in the language, Sanskrit language, that doesn't guarantee him liberation. That doesn't. And he must not read it himself. This knowledge, if he thinks that, oh, I know Sanskrit, so why can't I just read the Vedas and study the Upanishads? Why do I need a guru? He will never get it. And that's why Shravanam is given as the first requirement. Okay. Vaidyusham, Vidusham, Tadvada. So they are very scholarly, and that's fine. Bhuktaye, Natu Muktaye. So they can enjoy, they can, bhukta is to experience, they are scholarly, and yeah, they can enjoy that, you know, that praise or whatever that they can get, but that is not enough to liberate them. Mukti is not possible by that. It's the same idea, he's just even more explaining it. It's basically karma, right? All this speaking and all, that's why people sometimes misunderstand that because we are in the mission class, then we are doing Jnana Marga. It is not. Listening and speaking is still karma, falling under karma, but we do need that karma to gain that final knowledge. Okay. अविज्ञाते परे तत्वे शास्त्राधीतिस्तु निष्फला विज्ञातेऽपि परे तत्वे शास्त्राधीतिस्तु निष्फला. Without knowing the supreme reality, the study of the shastras is futile. Having known the supreme reality, the study of the shastras is again futile. He's used it again. So if I read what is the first line, avidnyate paretatve. Okay, so not knowing the final truth. I'm going on reading. You know, I've read the Gita. People have said that. I know Gita backwards, forwards, upwards, downwards. I've read, you know, Vedas, Upanishads, I've read everything. But unless the person gets the gist of that whole thing, whatever that he has read, it's futile, nishphala, futile. Okay. Now, a person who is reading, and yes, he does get it, then afterwards, does he have to study? This is what the second line is saying. He doesn't need the books. Does he need books after he has, if he recognizes himself to be that supreme reality, does he need some books to tell him what he is? This is what Bhagwan is saying here. Is this clear? It's like, you know, driving test, right? There is a knowledge test that we have to give now. Previously it wasn't there, but now it's there. So you read all the rules of the road, and you know, you answer all those questions and everything. But once you know the rules, and then you get your license, then you do a road test, you get your license, and then you're actually practically driving. Then do you need the book? Do you hold on to the book while you're driving? Oh, what should I do now? Stop sign has come, now this has come, that has come. You don't need the book. You will throw that book away. Once you are you have mastered a recipe, would you keep the recipe? Right? You don't need it. And if you have the recipe and you've read it over and over, but you never did it, what good is that recipe? That's line one. You have the cookbook by the most famous Iron Chef. But you read it also. Wow, wow, wonderful, wonderful, huh? But you never do it. Then what is the point of that book? There's no point. Okay, you have the book, you've gone through it, and you've started practicing, and you've done it 100 times. Do you need the book then? You don't need the book. This is what Bhagwan is saying here. Okay, so just studying is not a guarantee of realization. Just studying will not give you realization. But if once you realize, you don't need the studies anymore. Okay. Shabda jalam maharanyam chitta brahmana karanam ata prayatnat jnatavyam tatvanaistatvamatmanah. Commentaries on philosophies constitute a thick jungle in which a roaming mind may easily get lost. Shabda jalam. This is the word that even Amrit Bandhu Upanishad. Shabda, don't get into this. Jala is a net. It's like, you know how the fish get caught in a net, that way. Mind may easily get lost in its own delusion. Therefore, true seekers of Brahman should, through right efforts, come to experience the real nature of the self. Shabda Jalam Maha Aranyam. Aranya is a forest. I remember my father's Acharya, Swami Purushothamananji. He had told my dad, when he did the course, you know, he said, don't go into the Upanishads. Swami Prashad was very, very, very simple, you know, very, very mature in his teachings. He was one of the 5 original students of Gurudev, One of them is Swami, he's passed on now, he's attained Mahasamadhi, but he told my dad, he said, don't go into Upanishads. It's a jungle of words. You will get confused. Stay with Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita has got everything. And he was the one that brought this Ghar Ghar Mein Gita. He brought this project when he was in Bombay. He was Acharya. Then he brought this Ghar Ghar. So all the brahmacharis and the guest students like my dad, they will have a satsang in every day. He said every house you must go and you must introduce Bhagavad Gita, so that at least they have an idea of what Bhagavad Gita is and this. So he started this huge project, Ghar Ghar Mein Gita. My dad also has done many of those. Just have a satsang, talk to the people, just a basic introduction and all that sort of thing. Because if you get into the Upanishads, the language is extremely mystic. It is very confusing. It is very contradictory. Misunderstanding is much easier to happen in Upanishad than understanding. And then when misunderstanding happens and people think, what is this? And there's a chance of leaving. But Bhagavad Gita is very simple. And this is what he means. Chitta Brahmana Karanam. Chitta mind. Your mind, Brahmana it'll go on wandering, because it's like if you enter a forest and you don't have a true guide, you're going to get lost because the roads are not marked clearly in a forest. And that's how that's why don't get into arguments. Bhagwan has also said that at other places in his commentaries, don't argue unnecessarily. Like somebody says there is no God, you say, okay Baba, there is no God. Don't, because you say no, there is no, you know now what is the truth. Don't. So this is what he's saying. This words are like a huge forest, and the one who gets into this forest, there's chance of getting lost. So ataha, therefore, the real seekers of Brahman, they will never get into this argumentative mode, and they know that what I have to do is I have to realize myself to be that supreme reality, and there is no words required for that. So don't get into this verse. This is what Bhagwan is saying here. अज्ञानसर्पदष्टस्य ब्रह्मज्ञानौषधं विना किमु वेदैश्च शास्त्रैश्च किमु मन्त्रै किमौषधैः. For him who has been stung by the cobra of ignorance, the only remedy is the knowledge of Brahman. Of what use are the Vedas and the scriptures, mantras and medicines to such a victim of poison? See, one thing you have to understand is that this, you might think, oh man, then why am I even studying? Why am I studying even Vivekachudamani, right? See, the job of the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita or any scripture is not to tell us, what should I say? Not to tell us that we are existing. Do we need anyone else to tell us that I'm existing? Any one of us? No. I know I'm existing. Do I need somebody else to tell me, oh yeah, you're alive and you're existing? No. The problem is that we are existing, but as what? Do we know our correct identity? That is where the problem is. And that is why we need the scriptures, is to just tell us that you are not the body, but you're something else. Because right now, I think that I am the body. I think that I am the mind. And why, not that I go on telling everybody that I am the body, but the way it manifests is I become upset when things happen to my body. I get upset when my body falls sick, my body gets old, my body can't do so many things. My hair is going gray, I can't walk as much fast, this, that, everything. And then I think I. And that is the mistake. And that, because it's a mistake, error in thinking, what can remove it is only correct thinking. Delusion is wrong thinking. Wrong thinking, the antidote to wrong thinking is right thinking. And how to think is what the scriptures are going to tell us. How do I think? And why should I be thinking like this? Otherwise, the Vedas we don't need Veda to tell us that we are existing. We know that. All of us know that. We're very well aware. Even a child knows that he is existing. Not only 1, 2 years, then they know this is my room, this is my toys. All these things, they inherently they know. We all know. This is my, don't touch, this is my toys. This, even a child knows, then why as adults we won't know? We know. But that is where the mistake is. And to understand that mistake, we need somebody to tell us. And that is why we need the Vedas. So here when he says of what use are the Vedas in the scriptures, is because if you are ignorant, what you need is knowledge. And of course you need the Vedas, or you need the guru to tell you that this is ignorance. Because even that, we are not aware that I am the body, because I am the body is actually, we think it's knowledge. I know that I am the body. That is knowledge. But Vedanta says that is ignorance. That is where the difference is. This is what the Vedas say. That is ignorance. When you think that you're the body, because what I think is knowledge, yeah, this is me, this is when I was born, this is my, the educational level, my height, my weight, my these, that, everything. When I tell, Vedanta says that is ignorance. Whereas I think it's not. What do you mean? I know I'm of this height. I know I'm of this weight. I know this is my educational. I know so much in this subject, that subject, etc., etc. Vedanta says no. That is not knowledge. That is not real knowledge. That is ignorance. And that ignorance to remove is the correct knowledge, not knowledge of these external things. That is why Bhagavan is saying ignorance, the antidote to ignorance is knowledge alone. Karma is a child of ignorance. Karma is a child. So if it is an effect of ignorance, and that effect can never remove cause. Therefore, karma can never remove the cause. Okay. Nagachati vina panam vyadhiraushadha shabdataha vina parokshanubhavam brahma shabdairna muchyate. A disease is not cured by merely repeating the name of the medicine and without taking it. Without direct realization, by a mere utterance of the word Brahman, none can be liberated. Once again, you can't. It's amazing. That's why it's become 600 verses. Well, Bhagavan is, just drilling it into our mind. This is what he's doing. So he says that we've gone through this. There's a prescription. Here's the prescription. Okay, this is the prescription. If I keep doing that and I don't go buy it, and then I don't go swallow it, I can go buy it, and then okay, there's my prescription. Huh? That's my prescription. And I don't take it, then how that disease will be cured? It can't. So if I keep saying, if Brahman, that is not what it is. What it will require is the purity of the mind, and then meditating on that thought, and then actually coming to realize it. So it's once again, knowledge. What will liberate you is the knowledge itself, which is, see, right now, don't I have an inherent knowledge that I'm a woman? Think about this. Do you get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, then you think, am I a man or a woman? And then the thought comes, no, I'm a woman, or a man. Does it come, or inherently you know that you're a man or a woman? Inherent, right? It's inherent. That way, that inherent thought should be, I'm Brahman. Inherent thought. That is what it is. That's it. You don't need any books. There are so many saints who have not. Nisargadatta Maharaj couldn't even read. He didn't even speak pure Marathi. And he realized. The Raman Maharshi had not read any books. Raman Maharshi realized at age 16. He had not read anything. He didn't need to. Right? That's why even reading is not required. But for us, it is required. Because you know why? Because we are so much caught up in the external world that there is no way that we'll have this thought. So that is what he's saying, that aparoksha anubhav has to be there. Aparoksha is when you know inherently. Paroksha, para-aksha. Paroksha, this word paroksha and aparoksha. Paroksha is para-aksha. Para-aksha means what? Somebody else's eyes. They have seen and then we hear it and then that becomes paroksha jnana. Like when we are reading, the realized master, he has had aparoksha. Aparoksha is which is not through somebody else's eyes. It is my own direct realization. It is like I have heard that the pyramids are so big and great and, you know, and how many number of things I've heard about the pyramids. So that is paroksha jnana because somebody else has seen it and now they have told me. But it will become aparoksha when I go there actually and see them myself. And what is required is this aparoksha, this inherent knowledge has to come that I am Brahman. And only that will remove the ignorance. अकृत्वा दृश्यविलयम् अज्ञात्वा तत्त्वमात्मनः ब्रह्मशब्दैकुतो मुक्तिः उक्तिमात्रफलैर्नृणाम्. Without achieving the disappearance of the entire pluralistic world and without realizing the real nature of the self, how can one achieve full liberation by a mere repetition of the word Brahman? Surely it will end only in a wasteful effort of speech. So he's saying, don't, this is all relating to that Shabda Jala. Words, words, people go on talking words, 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 words. Don't waste your time in talking, talking, talking. Do something about it. That's what he's saying. So the disappearance of the entire pluralistic world, please understand that the world is never going to physically disappear. It has not disappeared for any of the realized masters, and it will not if we realize the world is suddenly doesn't become non-existent. It is existent. It still exists. What is meant by disappearance is the reality that we are giving the world in this stage of our ignorance. That much reality we will not give it. We will understand the falsity of the world. We will understand. We will see a realized master sees things and an ignorant person sees things. Same thing they see, same thing. It's not like the realized master sees something totally different than the other ignorant person. The realized master also, if there is a class sitting in front of him, he will see there is a different person, there's a different age, different gender, different, he will see all the differences. But the differences will not matter to him, because in his heart he knows that everything is one, whereas an ignorant person will be focused only on the differences. This is different, this is different, this one is, you know, this or whatever, all that thing will happen. That is what is meant by the disappearance of the entire pluralistic world. Pluralistic, plural is what? More than one, more than one, right? And right now what do I see? I see many things in the world. I see many people, I see many objects, I see many situations. Everything is plural for me. There's nothing single. Whereas the realized master will only see the oneness that is in and through this universe. So basically his attention is on the existence principle. It's on the substratum. To give you a simple example, see, there is a tree. Okay, okay, there is a tree. Then I cut the tree. Then there are branches. Then I burn the branches. So then there is ash. And then I put the ashes in the ocean. So now there is ocean. The ignorant man, ignorant person, his attention will be on the tree, the branches, the ashes, and the ocean. Pluralistic, right? There are four things now. There is the tree, then there are the branches, then there is the ashes, and then there is the ocean. So four different. So the ignorant person's attention is on the pluralistic world, whereas the realized master, his attention is on the isness. So he's saying this is a tree, is this, these are the branches, or this is a branch, is this is ash, is this is ocean. So his attention is on the ocean, is on the isness. That is same things. Isness is same in all four. So there is one single isness at once on one side, and then there are these four different things on the other side. For women, I'll give you another example. So we walk into a jeweler's store, and where is our attention? It's on the ornaments. Aha, that necklace is beautiful. That ring is very nice. Oh, the earrings seem much. The bangle is very good, right? Full attention on the ornaments, plural, plural, right? Many, many ornaments are there. Now another jeweler walks in there. Where is his attention? It is only on the gold. There is gold in the bangle, there is gold in the necklace, there is gold in the ring, there is gold in the earring. So gold, 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 gold. I'll tell you a little story. So there was a person who was very rich, and in his altar he had all these golden uh, idols of Shri Ram, Sita ji, Lakshman, Hanuman. He had a full altar. All of them were of gold, the idols. But this guy, he lost all his money, and finally he needed money. So he said, now what do I do? He said, oh, this is all gold, so I should go sell the gold, and I will get money. So he said, who should I sell first? The Hanuman was only servant, no, of Lord. I shouldn't sell the Lord first. I should sell the servant. So he takes Hanumanji and he goes and sells him. And he gets a lot of money. Hanumanji is big and strong, and so he gets a lot of money. So he's very happy. So few days go by, and of course the money goes away. And he says, now what do I do? He says, oh, I got so much money for the servant, Hanuman. So now I'm going to take the Lord himself. So I should get more money for the Lord. So he takes Sri Ram and he goes to the same jeweler. He says, now I want to sell Sri Ram. So the jeweler offers him money, which is much less than what he gave for Sri Hanuman. So the person gets really mad. He said, what do you mean? Hanuman was just a servant and you gave me so much more money, and now I'm giving you the Lord himself. He says, yeah, but the gold is so much less in the Lord. So the jeweler is looking at the gold. This guy is looking at the form. That's this thing. Do you get the point? So ignorant person looks at the pluralistic world and thinks it is plural, thinks it is different. He thinks this is real, that I am different, you are different, I am of this height, you're of that height, I am so intelligent, you are not, I am rich, you are not, whatever, you are rich, I am not. All these things, the ignorant person it's very, very real for him. Whereas the realized master, he doesn't see those differences. So the disappearance is only in the mind. It is not externally. No change is happening. Okay. So this disappearance, this sort of disappearance has to happen in our mind to recognize the oneness between Jiva and Brahman, not just saying Brahman, 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 or Aham Brahmasmi, just repeating it. That is not what it will give you that. I'm going to stop here and give you some time to ask questions if anybody has any doubts or want to say something. And we'll continue next time. No questions?
When you mentioned the last one, I got reminded about the Bhagavad Gita chapter 11. By any chance, is it somewhat the sing all in one? Or one in all?
Seeing one in all.
Yeah, one in all.
One in all. Yeah, correct.
Because it's kind of running in my. I've just.
You must be able to see the oneness in the multiplicity.
Yeah.
That is what the realized master does. He realizes the self in him is the self in all. That is the realization that will come with this Jiva Brahma Aikya. And that is what moksha is. He'll be liberated from all sorrows.
Yeah.
Can I ask? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
In chapter 12 of Gita, it says Abhyas, and then Gyan is better than Abhyas, and he goes all the way. In the end, he says, Karma Yoga are giving me all the results of your karma to me is the highest thing. That then I give him liberation. I look after him. Is that the same thing, oneness, that if you...
Yeah, he is giving, he is giving a sadhana for Sagun Sakar Bhakti, how to develop Bhakti. That is what is being told in chapter 12. So when you develop that devotion for the Lord, and when that devotion reaches a certain point, a certain height, at that point, Bhagwan will give you the knowledge of oneness
Oh,
through bhakti. Yeah. The knowledge of oneness is the ultimate and the final and the only thing. So bhakti also, in its highest sense, is knowledge. Bhakti, the greater, the deeper the devotion, the knowledge will arise in that sort of a mind.
one more question is off the subject that we're talking. Gita was like he gave this Gita in the battlefield.
In the, sorry, what?
Gita was said, told by Lord Krishna in the battlefield. There are
Yes,
two
yes, yes,
armies are there,
yes,
and they have started the war actually, chunk
yes.
of air and all that thing. The Gita, it will take at least hour, 2 hours. Is that the right place to say Gita? Or to
Okay,
give the knowledge?
one thing is the war had not started, and the other thing is it takes 3 hours for Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
and that is the most correct place for the Bhagavad Gita to be told. If you attend my Sunday lectures, you'll know, but I'll tell you, is in the middle of a war. And we think that why did Bhagwan choose? Because see, Bhagwan chose the place also. Bhagwan not only chose the student, but he also chose the place. And the reason he chose the battlefield is because he knew that Kali Yuga is now coming, because it is towards the end of Dwapar Yuga that Gita was given out. And Bhagwan knew that Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga, you know, our own life is a battlefield. Don't take that Kurukshetra battle as a battle that we are in the army and we will go and fight on the borders of Afghanistan or Canada or India or whatever. No, we are fighting a battle right here and now in our own house, in our own mind. And both Kauravas and Pandavas are within us. Within us. They are not outside. There is nothing outside. It is within us. If you want to attend Sunday, this is what I'll be talking about in detail, but that is what it is, and that's why the battlefield is the correct place. You must never doubt Bhagwan's intentions. Bhagwan can do nothing wrong. He can never do so. If he picked the battlefield, he wanted the battlefield, and the reason he wants it to know is because for us to know in Kali Yuga that this life itself is now a battle, and in this battlefield you must use that Bhagavad Gita. It has been told in the battlefield, use it in your own life, which is itself a battle. Our own life is a battle. Okay, any this thing? No more questions? Okay, then we shall stop here and we will continue next time. All right. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्ति भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।